Why only other boys and not Damien?
I don't understand.
Damien has a different cell structure.
Different? What does it mean?
I've been working on the story for years now. I think I pieced it together. Oh, please, please, you must listen to me.
The first time was only a warning.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the classic 1978 horror sequel, Damien, Omen 2. The film is directed by Don Taylor and Mike Hodges, and it stars William Holden, Lee Grant, Jonathan Scott Taylor, Nicholas Pryor, and Lance Henriksen. This time round, the film focuses on Damien, who we saw at the end of The Omen. He was holding hands with the President of the United States and smiling creepily at the camera. So we now meet Damien as a teenager. He is living with William Holden's character, Richard Thorne, who is the brother of Gregory Peck's character in the first film. Now, he's not a politician, he's more a master of industry, a very successful businessman, but he has raised Damien along with his own son, Mark, with Lee Grant's character, Anne Thorne, who is his second wife. Damien is, at this stage in his life, he's going to military school, he's very good friends with Mark, and he's really not aware of who he is and, you know, his importance in regards to being the Antichrist. But as with the first one, things start happening around him. He starts being made more aware of what is going on and what his destiny is. And there are, again, people around him who are there to protect him. And he eventually accepts his abilities and his powers. Right. What are my thoughts on Damien, Omen 2? Well, the Omen franchise, as I said in my review for The Omen last time, after watching the first Omen, it kind of reignited my interest in the Omen franchise. A series of films that I haven't watched for a while, but they are also films that I grew up on. So I do have something of a soft spot for the Omen films. Now, I'm well aware that the first one is considered a classic, a stone cold classic, really. It is an excellent film. And the two sequels, this one and obviously the third one with Sam Neill, are not looked upon with a same, I don't know, affection, I suppose, but, you know, I still quite like this film, and I still quite like the third film. As I said, I've got affection for them. I grew up with them, and I found them all, pretty creepy overall. And that is really no different with this after rewatching it. Yes, you can see. I don't know if a drop in quality is a fair assessment, but there is. I don't know how to really word it. It's almost like the characters that we get in this one are almost like they're all kind of linked to characters in the first film. It doesn't kind of feel like a fresh take on the franchise. It just kind of feels like an extension of the first film, and it's just, people try to convince people that Damien's evil, people not listening, and then eventually coming round to the idea that he is the Antichrist and then try and do something about it, but it's too late, sort of thing. So it's basically a rehash of the first film. It's a well-made rehash of the first film, but it almost does feel, while you're watching it, this one, a little bit unbalanced. And that's probably no surprise, because it's credited with two directors, and that's really because one of the directors was kind of, came in, filmed a few things here and there, and then was kind of replaced by another director. And I'm not sure if it's Don Taylor or Mike Hodges who was the first director or the second director. So it feels like, and some of the scenes that were filmed by the first director are still in the movie. So it is almost like there is a little bit of a tonal difference here and there in the film, and it does feel a little bit unbalanced here and there. But as always, I think the Omen franchise has really become famous for the coincidental or accidental deaths that happen in the film that the Final Destination films copied so successfully, I suppose. And again, this one's no different. You know, you've got either directly killed by Damien this time when he's giving him the death stare, or this time round it is kind of crows doing his dirty work rather than dogs in the first one. So you've got death by crow a couple of times in this one. You've got death by chemical gas in this one. You've got, well, you know, a few different creative deaths. My favourite one is probably the doctor, who discovers that he has got Jekyll DNA in him and he's going to try and report this, and then he gets kind of chopped in half by a lift cable. These days, if it were kind of remade, you'd probably get to see it a little bit more graphically and stuff, but it's still kind of, for its time, were fairly shocking in the way it portrayed a lot of these deaths. It also did feel to me like it was a little bit melodramatic here and there, and there's a little bit of an issue with some of the performances because with him being a teenager now, Damien, I don't necessarily think Jonathan Scott Taylor did a bad job as Damien. He actually had, you know, a pretty creepy way about him that was quite specific, and he's not given an awful lot to do in regards to dialogue, which is probably a good thing because when he does talk, sometimes you could see his lack of experience as an actor. But it's also some of the actors at the military school that he's with, you know, some of the young actors, you know, some of their acting is not what you would describe as the most impressive sort of thing. And then we've got Lance Henriksen here, one of his early appearances on film. He plays like the boot camp sergeant major at military school. And I thought, and I couldn't remember, because I couldn't remember an awful lot about this film. It's a long time since I've seen it. But I thought he was going to be like, you know, the typical hard-ass sergeant major sort of thing, and then Damien takes his revenge out on him. But in actual fact, it turns out to be quite the opposite. And in actual fact, he's one of the Antichrist apostles who's there to kind of look after him and guide him sort of thing. And for me, I also think this film has a really strong finish. When William Holden kind of has this realization of who Damien is, and he comes round to this idea that he is the Antichrist and he's got to do something about it. The whole twist at the end with his wife, Lee Grant, and hey guys, look, this film came out in 1978. I ain't so worried about spoilers, so if you are bothered about spoilers, then turn off now. But if you don't care about a film in 1978 giving away spoilers, the fact that Lee Grant, William Holden's wife in this film, has been there all along to protect Damien. I thought that was hidden quite well. And when she turns on him at the end, it was a genuine surprise. And I thought that was handled particularly well. And then the cold-hearted work of Damien kind of exploding the whole place up sort of thing. So, yeah, I think this is a solid sequel. You know, at the time, Hollywood wasn't good at doing sequels, you could argue. You know, you had Jaws, which is an amazing film. Jaws 2, you know, when you actually look at that film and analyse it, it's not a bad sequel, but nothing like the first. You know, and the 70s are quite full of films like that really, you know, the Dirty Harry sequels, all of them are good, but none of them can compare to the first, in my opinion. So I think this is definitely a solid sequel. Just, you know, don't go into this expecting it to be as memorable as the first one. It's just an extension of the first one, an extension of Damien's story. So, yeah, thanks for joining me for this review, guys. I will, of course, be rewatching Omen 3. I'm looking forward to seeing Sam Neill's performance in that one again, and I will obviously bring you a review on that one. So, thanks for joining me, guys.